So sport is, to my opinion, obviously I've been in this job for a while, one of the best jobs in the world that you can have. And whilst I'm talking about the BSc Honors Sports Coaching Program, really I just want to see people get involved in sport and be a leader in sport. So, the sport coaching degree is one way to go, and we have a number of other degrees that is another way to go. And so it's going to be, for you as a college student, some of you will be very sure about what you want to do for a degree, and others will be less so. And I think that the people who are less so are probably in the majority. And as a result, I tell a story, and I hope it doesn't, come across too self-gratifying that I'm bigging myself up. But I think that you need people who have interesting stories to kind of lead you to where you might end up. And I think I have a bit of an interesting story. So I'll tie it together with education and in general, and with sports coaching in particular. So the best job in the world, and I'm sure the other lecturers here and the other students, are on their way to the students are on their way to knowing they're in the best job in the world, and the lecturers definitely. So the idea is to tell kind of an interesting story that may hit with you, may not. Obviously, I have a bit of a different background, being Canadian, and so it's a little bit different, but it was kind of more of a mindset that was taught to me, and something that I hope comes across to provide you an idea of what's possible. And then, the University of Wolverhampton, how has it benefited our graduates, sports coaching in particular. So my story, I'm originally from Canada, place in the West Coast near Vancouver. It's called Penticton, and this little town that you can see on the right, at least as I'm looking at the screen, is 30,000, and everybody's grandparents live there because it's a hot place. But sport is crazy important. This small town produces a huge amount of professional ice hockey players and combat sports people, and just sport is everything. I got to be honest, I don't know too many people who didn't do sport. And our physical education program was 5 times a week, and so that was kind of the background that I grew up, and it was for 12 years. So that's where I came through to really start to love sport. My sports, I played a bunch of sports, but I was on the Canadian national team for karate, and I played with a junior A ice hockey team, and then later a tier 1 team, which was professional. I snowboarded. We had a ski hill there. I played a lot of beach volleyball because we had really good summers, and golf, and to keep my combativeness going, I played lacrosse and wrestled a lot. So, and the rest of the coaching staff has a varied range of sports as well that they like to do. So, just a little bit of a, I didn't share the sound with this. I knew I needed to. It's okay. It's just a few seconds that I'll show. A lot of people are interested what lacrosse is. As a cultural background, lacrosse is Canada's actually national sport. And so we'll just show a few minutes of this. So enough. This is just really to get an idea. We in Canada grew up playing a lot of combative sports: ice hockey, lacrosse, American football. Even our football, our soccer is quite combative. And we talked about the difference between sport, that Amy was talking about, and physical education. And we grow up in a environment that has a lot of physically educating the body to be able to do a lot of different sports. And I strongly believe, especially in today's society, that sport is the medicine for a lot of our problems. Okay, no, move to the next slide. Okay, so my first sport, it was actually soccer or football. It's the first sport that everybody plays in Canada, and we play it from about 5 years old to 6 or 7, and then we go on to more violent sports. And these two guys were my goaltender coaches at the time when I was a young guy. I went to camps in Vancouver, and Vancouver is they had a professional football team in the 80s. I mean, they still do. And this guy here is Phil Parks. He's a pretty darn famous keeper. I think he was your national team keeper for a little while. Definitely had some national team caps. And he's a Wolverhampton guy. He played for Wolverhampton for a while first. And he's just a really mellow guy. This guy on the other side is Bruce Grobelar. He's absolutely crazy. If you're interested in something, a chuckle, go on and put in Bruce Grobelar, and you'll see him do the rubber band thing. And as a goaltender coach, he was more about the attitude than the technique. But in either case, I was lucky to have them as coaches, and they taught me a fair bit about sport. My travels, and these travels are all sport related. So I finished school. I did a couple years of professional ice hockey, and during that time, I've been doing karate. One, because it helps with the fighting, and two, on the ice, I should say, and two, it was helping with flexibility. But I got pretty good, and it was a weight class sport, and I was quite a light guy. And after 2 years of riding the bench, I decided I wasn't gonna, despite being paid reasonably well, I decided I needed to do the action of sport. So I was a junior national team player, and I became a national team player. And unfortunately, in Canada, karate is not well paid, and it's not well paid in most countries. But anyways, I went to Japan to learn karate, and I ended up teaching karate there in Japanese, or teaching in Japanese. My Japanese is not so good. Came back, and I didn't have, again, much money, but my father was working in Greece, so I went and lived there for 3 years, and I competed throughout Europe with the money that was given to me, because it's much easier to travel. After that, I went to Australia for World Championships, and I overstayed my visa, and there I taught beach volleyball and karate, and I was a personal trainer, and I did some education out there. And I came back, and it was about that time that I realized that I needed to do further education. I mean, the whole time I'd put together some classes, enough to get like an open university and kinesiology degree, but I wanted to do more, and I knew that Eastern European sports science was quite good, and I wasn't so good at languages. It took me like 5 years to even be basically competent, and not, I wouldn't even say competent, but just have basic conversations in Japanese. So I went to Hungary, and there in Hungary, they have every university program in English and German, and I spent 4 years there, and I did a master's in education and focusing on physical education, and another master's in sport social psychology. And from there, I met my wife, and we went to Kuwait to teach physical education, and we were there for 3 years before the second war broke out. Came back to Canada for a bit, and then came to England, and that's where I've been for the last 16 years, starting the same time as Nick. 16, or I don't know, it gets more every year. Funny that. So all those places were sport related, and I say to my students, definitely, people want to have jobs in their own country, but when you run into a brick wall, you might want to consider moving abroad and trying sport elsewhere. UK has a really good reputation for sport and sport educators. When I was in Kuwait, I met a number of physical education teachers from over here. They kind of, not to step on PE's toes, but they kind of got tired of all the rigmarole with all the paperwork that you have to do as a PE teacher, and they went abroad. And certainly there's requirements to be certified and have a strong program, and you get checked out, but not like Oxford. And so they got to do a lot more teaching and made a lot of money teaching abroad. So teaching abroad is something that we kind of have as well as a focus as best as we can. We and the PE degree also have travel tours to India. Obviously, the last couple of years have been stopped because of COVID, but it's something that I talk about a little bit more. And with myself and Juja, the other lecturer, also happens to be my wife and my boss. She's had as many international experiences as myself. Um, and then we had another gentleman, Nico Kolathakis. He's just finished his PhD and he used to teach on the course. He's from Greece and spent a lot of time over here in other countries as well. So, you know, international focus is, you know, we want you to get a job wherever you want to get it. But if you want the potential to go abroad, we definitely have the experience to direct you. So the jobs I had before uni, I mean, in terms of sport mostly, were like a junior ice hockey counselor. So that means you're babysitting. Ice patrol means you're babysitting on the ice. Golf course, I was doing, you know, mowing lawns and putting dishes away. And a personal trainer, that's because I got that certification quite early. I coached snowboarding, volleyball, karate, and wrestling, and I did summer camp. And you know, all this time I've been gaining some experience to try to figure out if I really did want to want to get into this profession of sport. Uh, Being a professional ice hockey player and then with the national team karate, it took a little while before I finally got around to being a professional in it. But had gained a fair bit of experience. You know, the opportunities provided to me, I took them as best as possible. And I think that's a thing about Wolverhampton is that we do provide a lot of opportunities. And if you're one of those students to step up and get involved, there's so much to get involved with. Again, COVID's been a little bit of a bummer in that area, but even with COVID, we still have a fair amount of opportunities to get involved with. So after education, and I have a fair bit of it, I became a track coach. I was the head of a track coach, a very successful team here at the university, and one in Canada when I was there briefly. Karate has always been something I've taught even to this day. I still teach. I was a swim coach in UK or in Kuwait, I should say. Beach volleyball coach here and abroad. As a physical education teacher from reception to year 12, the head of PE, and that was for 5 years. Yeah, 3 years in Kuwait, 2 years in Budapest. I've been a sports psychologist, a sports performance analyst at the same time, and a strength and conditioning specialist, all with certification. It's not a brag. It is more more of a story of somebody who wants to kind of keep learning, but not just that. I don't ever want to be redundant, and I don't ever want to not have a job. So, you know, there's the idea of being really good at something and have that one thing, and then there's the idea of being okay at a bunch of things. And I kind of ascribe to that one. Also, I have a short attention span, so I learn it to a pretty good level, and then I move on to the next. And that's, you know, that's for you to decide. You know, physical education, you become a physical education teacher, and a good many people do that for the rest of their life, and it has good job security, and you know what you're going to do, and you have your summers off, and that's for a certain type of person. And I can't say that I tried it and I liked it a lot, but I don't know. At some point, I thought, oh, I want to learn some other stuff. I want to do some more things. So that's really what it's about is having, you know, lots of quivers, lots of arrows in your quiver. That's it, to be able to do many different things if you want, if that's your type of personality. So my education's quite varied. Again, it's a lot, and I'm working towards another PhD in physiology and training adaptation. All told, it's 14 years of university education, and there's a couple random things in there, like a diploma from the University of Coventry that I did in Greece in media communications. But again, what this kind of boils down to, you think, oh, this guy must love university. I guess it comes from being a sports person, and I liked being able to have the next challenge, and so I took it and I did it. Um, and this is a guy who in his last years of school, I had a few really good grades, some of the best in the country, and then a bunch that were like maths and algebra and calculus and trigonometry, and I had to do that twice. So, you know, it's not me being pat on the back. It's me coming from a sport background that says that you want to compete, you keep training. So for me, this is just continual training, and I can say that if I can do it, you can do it. And I think that's one of the great things about sport is that if you show up and you work hard, it is really one of those fields that you can really have a good amount of success. So what can you do? What should you do? You're thinking about a degree. What should you do? Well, I'd say get experience and volunteer like there was no tomorrow. And we have that as part of our university focus. So any degree you do at Wolverhampton, we want you to volunteer a lot. We give you lots of opportunities. Try to work with many age groups. You know, I love kids. Kids seem to love me. But after 5 years, well, 3 years of working with primary to year three children, they burn me out, and I have a fair amount of energy. So, but I was open to that opportunity. If I didn't have that, if I wasn't open to that opportunity, I definitely wouldn't have had the opportunity to go to Kuwait and teach. Um, and it provided us with a good amount of money and a great experience. And so so many people, especially younger people, go, I don't like working with kids. And then you go, well, have you worked with kids? So different age populations, and that's only I only consider the young, because young children is a job you'll have with coaches. If you want to start out in coaching, almost like 90% of the time you're coaching with young people, and that's mirrored in our education, how we teach you at the coaching course. But then there's the other population. So the middle population, the teenagers maybe up to like it's 16 to well into 30s sort of thing. Those are who most people want to work with, but they have lives. They're doing A levels. They're out doing their job and so forth, and the ability to work with them as a professional is very tough. So really, you're working with like age 5 to 16 is a normal group to get in, and the one that's kind of neglected is 50 plus, and that's another thing that we have as a focus. So we try to help you to get that experience with different populations, because 50 plus, maybe more 60. If they're retired at 60, they have a lot of money, and they will pay for various sports coaching. So we look towards this niche in the market. Look into local sports organizations. Black Country Consortium is one, and it used to and occasionally still does offer coaching certifications, and you get repaid by doing a set number of hours. Look to your community. A lot of times they have those options. But be open to different jobs in sport. I mean, we say it all the time, and it's our. I'm just speaking for the coaching program. You have a coaching degree. Certainly, the label on the tin says coach, and so your main job is most probably a coach. But there's so many other sports jobs that our coaches have gotten, and same from PE. I've known lots of people from PE. PE's usually like even more so. You do a PE degree, you're gonna most likely end up being a PE teacher. But there's so many opportunities, and some students have taken them to do whatever, to go on to podiatry school, to to physiotherapy, sports therapy. We have a degree in that. There's so many other opportunities. So the big thing is that sports people are passionate, and as a result, there's a huge amount of competition in sport, and sport and physical activity, both. I can remember some doing education in Hungary that the PE teachers at the time weren't dying. They weren't retiring or dying, and so it was tough. And Hungary at the time, similar to Germany, said we only need this many PE teachers because it's we don't have any more positions, so they only educated that many. So if you're not open to ages and different types of things in terms of jobs in sport, then you're narrowing your possibilities. Some people like to burn the ship, and that's the only job they're going to get, and they work to get it. But others need to have more possibilities. All right. So what if your grades aren't good? You're sitting in this you're sitting here going, ooh, I'd like to go to that PE degree or that coaching degree and so forth. And you're like, my grades aren't so good. Well, all's not lost. You may take a little bit longer to get there, but all's not lost. So, get experience. The as somebody who used to interview lots and lots of different people to get onto the coaching degree, we used to do a fair bit of interviews. The first question I say, so your grades aren't so good, so what have you done? A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Or somebody who says, well, I've done this many years of coaching, I've got this many badges, I've got this many extra certifications in this area. Obviously, that person is invested in what they've done. They've done what I say is build a body of work that lets the person, the university, ours hopefully, but if not somebody else, know that you want to really be a part of that degree. And at 21, our university, and I think I've been an external reviewer. A lot of other universities have this same sort of thing. With if you have a body of work that says you want to do the field, the grades may not be looked at. So it's dependent. We have different rules and regulations come in every year, but being a mature student who's done a lot of work in an area, you may be able to overcome poor grades. Not if you're a PE teacher, because you absolutely need GCSEs for I think maths, English, and something else at a C. But so I love mature students. They have a lot of experience. They've been out in the world. They know what's out there, and they usually come in and they don't fail. That's definitely for the coaching degree. I'm a big fan of mature students, but that's not to say you have to wait till you're a mature student. It's just if you've messed up a bit, then work towards your dreams, and you can get there. So if your grades are good, check out lots of universities. I don't know, if you're making, or if you're spending thousands of pounds a year, you want to know what's out there. And I feel pretty good with Wolverhampton. I don't, I like to sell. I think I would have done better as a salesperson. I'd definitely have made a lot more money. But various universities are good, but I feel comfortable and confident that our university, for what we do, is really good value for what you're paying. So find past students, talk to them. Nick was able to get a couple students. I think that's an awesome thing. Somebody's got a question. I see a Q&A. Dub, can you let me know what the question is? Nope. Maybe. Okay. Well, we'll ask the question at the end, I guess. And if not, I'll come back to it. Okay. So find past students, and Nick's done a good job of finding a couple of past students. I tried hard. The students who I want, to come, they're in class, unfortunately. But if you're really interested in the coaching course, let me know, and I'll put you in touch with some students. So I'll ask them first, and they'll have a chat with you. Go ahead.
Russ here, mate. The question. I've got the question for you. It's come up on the chat box. It's from Justin.
Yes, Justin.
And Justin asks, what kind of class sizes are there typically?
Well, it depends on the course and the year, but coaching historically is somewhere around 15 to 25. Obviously, with COVID, and it's less than that. It's usually kind of half. And so, like, we've had years. We've had like 5 years on the trot where we were in the 50s, 60s almost. And that was right after the Olympics. So, it makes sense. And that's, you know, we get more lectures per amount of students we have, but it's still tough. Whereas now we're kind of on an average, we've leveled out, and yeah, I'd say somewhere between 15 and 25. P might be a little bit more. Certain other courses are a bit more, certain other courses a little bit less, but it's kind of around there. And with COVID, we have to have a certain amount per space, so it depends on the space, and then we have multiple iterations. So hopefully that answered you. You do again, knowing other bigger universities that average like 40s and 50s, and maybe don't get the same sort of student to lecture ratio, it's very tough to be in contact and communicate with your lecturers. Here, I think even when we were larger numbers, we spend I am sure we spend a good amount of time giving you personal content. That's something I'm very sure of. So hopefully I answered that. If you got more questions, keep asking. Um, so yeah, go to lots of different universities, check them out, check our university out, which you're doing now. You know, hopefully we get through this to some level and we have the ability to meet us live. Last year, no, the year before, we had a couple students come like 3 or 4 times to live events, and I thought that's the way to do it. And you know, after the third time, they were sold, and they got to see what we're like as lecturers, and the content that they're going to learn and the practicals they're going to do. So you know, if you're interested at all, come to another one. Even if you're not interested, come to another one, because and here or there or anywhere, you need to really kind of invest some time into making a pretty big decision. I'd say you really get to know the lectures. You know, your enjoyability, how you are as a student, the type of support that they're able to give you, the type of personality. Every lecturer has got different personalities, and if you fit with one of them, it can mean the difference. I mean, you know, I before I went to Hungary, I went to the university and I checked the campus out and I talked to some lecturers and I knew it was the place for me to go. Make a list of reasons to go, and I think, you know, if you're only if your only reason that you're going to university is that there's nothing else out there, that's gonna fail always. So you need to make a list. You need to make a list of reasons, and it's super important. You're gonna paste it up. You're gonna put it in your phone. You're gonna put it wherever you can, because as you go through your university, you're gonna look back at those, and when you have problems, those are the things that are gonna keep you strong. And then the other one is realize you don't need to go now. I mean, you know, we hope that you decide, and if you make a decision that you think about Wolverhampton. Um, but like, you know, some people think they need to go, and you're better off. You know, you have bullets. You have 4 bullets, 4 years of university education, which is paid for, and if you waste one of them, you're down to 3, and you can make no mistakes. So, you know, if you have that list and it's full of reasons, then you're probably going to be pretty good to be able to enter. But if you only have like one reason, there's nothing else to do right now. You're probably looking at a situation where you might think about going some other time. All right. So this is some past Wolverhampton grads. The first time I kind of presented this, it was to a couple football academies, and so these are football related people. But they, you know, and you know, you can see my angle is that 2 of them, the one guy, he's without the cap, and the 2 girls in between. His name's Simon Annis, and he has a great story as well. He went over to America. He went with Challenger Sport. I think they're one of the biggest football coaching companies in America. And he did a master's degree with us, an undergraduate with us. He's a Black Country guy, and he ended up in Texas, married a Texan lady, and he's the head strength and conditioning specialist for all of Texas soccer. So that's a pretty big deal. And he still hires some of our grads, level 2 coaching, and then he hires some of them from time to time. The other guy there is Chris Hinton. Strangely enough, he got the same job at, or not same job, but a similar job at Challenger Sport. I think he maybe moved to another one, but and they're like 7 years apart. And so we have a good reputation with Challenger Sport. Um, and he ended up being in charge of coach recruitment for California. And he was going to live there forever, but then the Trump came along, and that was the end of him. He went to a lottery, and they kicked him out. He didn't win the lottery. He's waiting for the new government. He'll be back there in a heartbeat. And finally, we have Hannah Dingley, and she's not a graduate of ours really. She's a past lecturer, and she made a football degree. She's the first female academy manager for a League Two team called Forest Green Rovers. And so, we're very proud that she came to us. Her her background, some of her philosophies are embedded in the football coaching degree, which is coming up next with Russ. And we have so many more other graduates, but these are a couple that are focused on football. But here we go. Same more with football. Performance analysts, we have them at Wolves, Aston Villa, West Brom, Coventry, Man City. Strength and conditioning specialists, all over the place as well. Also, DC United in the States. Sports psychology, these are undergraduates who went away and did PhDs elsewhere or with us. And then our head, because to be a sports psychologist, you need a master's minimum or PhD. And then coaching at academy clubs and scouting. And each of these jobs, performance analyst, strength and conditioning specialist, sport psychologist, coaching and scouting, we've had other coaches in different fields go. Coaching is probably the toughest one from the coaching degree. To be a professional, high-level coach, we have many professional coaches, just not in professional sport, like the highest level of professional sport. Some might argue that Coventry is not the highest level, but it's pretty darn good.
Sean,
Yeah.
There's another question.
Go ahead.
So Justin again.
Yeah.
He's commented on your varied coaching career and how diverse you've been. He's a mature student. So effectively, what he said is he's had 10 years involved in coaching already within football teams, but he'd like to become qualified properly. What advice would you give him to someone in his position?
Well, football is obviously sounds like where you're going to want to go. And my advice is to talk to you, because you not only have you done a whole lot in football in the local area as well as abroad. You've done a lot in just activity in general. But that side skirts the question and kind of gives it back to you, like ping pong or something. But my advice is that do what you're doing. Like come to this, get a full idea of what you need to do and what you want to do and where you want to go. Because I'll talk to you guys a little bit more about the different types of coaching. And definitely, you have to get your basic certifications, level 1s and 2s. Can a savvy person get those for free? Possibly, and that's probably one of those things you want to look at. And again, talking to you is probably a good idea as well. So stick around, Justin, and make sure you go to Russ's talk next.
Sean,
go ahead.
Are you happy for me to come in here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Although I'm not on the coaching
well, you teach on it, so.
I am in a small way, Justin. I think what you're doing is admirable. I have a little bit of a coaching background myself, but my theoretical underpinning is a little less than, say, Sean or Russ's. And as a result of that, I'm currently undertaking a master's degree in elite coaching. So what you're doing is admirable. And I can tell you that Sean and Russ do a great job with the coaching degree. So obviously we would love to have you on board, whether it be with a football coaching degree or potentially with the general coaching degree. So all power to you. And for once, I'm not trying to recruit to the PE degree. Coaching and go coaching.
Woo! Thanks for that, Nick. Okay, so jobs that Wolves grads have had in the past, so coaching, of course. And when we talk coaching, we're talking performance. So more of the definition that Amy had, and participation. And participation coaching, like Juju and I come from a background where the PE teacher is the coach, and there's no difference. The only difference is that for us and our background for the participation type of coaching is that you're using a single sport, and even then I tend to teach different sports. So I've run participatory volleyball teams, and I'm going to teach skills that are related to basketball because it's a jumping type sport. Is winning important? Not at For me, not at the participation level. It's more about doing the same thing that a PE teacher does to develop a love and like of movement, to be physically educated so that you have something you can do throughout the rest of your life, and not necessarily for competition. But that's a difference in philosophy. If I've been around lots of coaches and lots of PE teachers, and maybe in UK there is a pretty hard division between the two. Performance analysts, not just football, but combat sports, physical education. I'm not trying to take. Oops, there we go. Come on. So that means I got to be quick. Physical education, we have a pretty good rate of those who went to PGCs, GTPs, or whatever, skits, and all these various forms of being a PE teacher. It's in the 80 percentile range. It's another route to do different. Definitely, you need to pick up a lot of different things that we don't have in our educational system in the coaching program. Primary school teaching, we've had just a large amount. I think the last 5 years we've had near a dozen go into primary school teaching, and a good amount of them, it's because we have a practical teaching block where we teach primary school kids, children in sports fest type environment, and they find out, yeah, I do like kids, and they go on to do that. I think we're very proud. Not think. I know we're proud about. We're very proud of having a lot of people do their master's degrees and go into college lecturing. We have two in university lecturing, and my first student, Alpha student, the very first student I had when I was here, he's the dean of a college. He's making tons more than me, and I'm very proud of that. And he did his undergraduate here with me in coaching. He did his PGCE here. He did his master's degree here, and then he went abroad. He went to different institutes. I think he was with some version of Birmingham Met. Birmingham Met used to be a bunch of colleges, and he was head of department there for a while, and then now he's somewhere South Staffs, I want to say, college, and he's in charge of a bunch of different sport and nursing and some other things, something similar to us. Strangely enough, we've had a lot of people go into banking, retail manager, absolutely, police, and military in officer training. So, it's a sport coaching degree, but we have a lot of people going in a lot of different jobs besides coaching. All right, so the degree. It's a 3-year degree. The academic year starts from the middle of September and runs till May. Our sport department uses a 4-block system, and the blocks go 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 8 weeks, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 8 weeks, 2 weeks. So, and so that's how it goes. We have the teaching block, then we have, just 1 second, I'm sorry. I just need to pause this a second. I'll be right back. Something home-based. The joys of doing a lecture at home. Okay, so disaster averted. All right, so the block 1 is typically just for, it's largely focused on first-year students. So as somebody who's entering the program, it's a good thing. You get a lot of time with us. 4-week blocks are typically quite busy, and then the 8-week blocks are a little less busy. And that's really enough to kind of get a feel for what it is. You have the teaching, you have an assessment period, then we mark and you read for the next block. So there we go. 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks. The curriculum for us follows streams. We have coaching as a theme, which is called pedagogy, participant and performance-based focus. We have sport coaching as a business, so we have lectures or modules on that. Many people from coaching end up starting their own business. We have sport coaching and technology, so we have a module that focuses on how to do video content, how to do audio content, pictures. We have some drone technology that we're going to try to use, well, drones, and we learn how to use that. Performance analysts, so we analyze individual skills, whereas football is more focused, the football degree is more focused on tactical or team. And we have a strength and conditioning component. Our delivery is roughly 50% theory and 50% practical, and that's throughout. There are some modules which are much more practical, and some modules which are much more theoretical. But by and large, it's a lecture and then a practical. That's simple. Here's a brief look at. I won't go into too much because I'm almost stepping into Russ's time. We have this is the first year curriculum. We have an introduction to sport and education. We have science and movement analysis. So there's our analysis stream. We have sport coaching and pedagogy. That's our teaching stream. We have event management, our business stream, coaching context, again, pedagogy, and motor learning, kind of it's the basis of coaching. So lots of opportunities on the degree, not just our degree, but all the degrees. We have like our modules have 5 placement modules. So a couple are department run and the others are within inside of modules. We travel to different countries to coach. In my time, India, Hungary, Malaysia. We have numerous courses for professional development. Some are free, some are discounted. And we have many volunteering opportunities. The Commonwealth Games are here. We have the National Judo Center, so we'll be hosting them there. And we've had a Commonwealth game for visual impaired, and people got involved with that. We host the Bucks, the University Championship for boxing. So we have a strong combat sports background here. And we have an entire staff that's focused on volunteering options. And I gotta say, if you don't like volunteering, you're really doing yourself a disservice with getting yourself a job. The amount of people who've gotten jobs from volunteering is just, it's immense. And that just the benefit you are to society. All right, so last thing, we have a project, and the project used to be called dissertation. It was very written based, and many of the coaches in particular were, they weren't too keen on that. So we moved to a project, which is to say that it can be many things. And this is a project by a student who did an undergraduate with us and a master's degree with us. And we're only going to watch a few seconds because we don't have time. But if you want to Google it or you go to YouTube, The Science of Saving a Penalty Kick, you can check it out. I'll just do the first couple seconds. So in the sound.
A moment of high pressure between 2 players on the pitch. A moment where the focus shifts to one of the opposition. A moment where everyone is looking at you. A moment to make yourself a hero. The job sounds simple. Stop the ball from going into the back of the net. But it's much more complex than that. This is the science of saving a penalty kick.
So he did this project. He made a huge amount of contacts. He interviewed the coaching staff of Wolves. He was I forget you call him porter. He was helping people up and down the stands or whatever at Wolves. From there, he got opportunity to coach in the academy clubs. And then he moved to strength and conditioning. Now he's the head strength and conditioning specialist for Wolves female team, and got himself a job from it. I mean, that is what I think that we really push that in coaching and our sport department, is to create something that gives you a better opportunity for a job. All right, so thank you for listening. I know I've overdone it because I was supposed to finish 5 minutes ago, and it feels like more than 5 minutes. There's your contacts, Zhuja, so z.galloway or is that Z over here, at wov.ac.uk. And any questions you can send to her, and she'll then ship them to me, or we'll answer them together.